In 1998, the members of STARS went into the Arklay Mountains to investigate the disappearance of their team members after following up on reports of cannibalism. After that, the survivors spent the next few years fighting off hordes of the undead, freakish mutations, and the Umbrella Corporation itself. Now, most of our heroes return, with familiar threats, but a slightly different perspective. We're talking about Resident Evil again! What's up, everybody, and welcome to 3VO, where we're all on the same team. I'm your host today, Jordan.
And I'm your other host, Brendan.
And if you're new here, we're just two big old nerds that just absolutely love video games so much, and we just can't stop talking about it. And if you share that same slightly annoying love for games as we do, this is definitely the podcast for you. We're going to be diving back into our timeline series for Resident Evil, finishing up today, in fact. But before we do that, as always, Brendan... How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's morning.
It is the morning.
I have coffee.
We have shifted. I'm having a beer.
Well, you work nights. You're on a totally different schedule.
I work nights. I'm on a whole other thing. Yeah. We shifted our schedule a little bit again to make it easier, and so far, I'm a fan of this.
Oh my god, it's so lovely.
This is so nice. Turning up in the morning and just getting this.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we say getting it out of the way.
I don't mean getting it away like
it's
that.
a chore.
No,
it's a chore. No.
I love doing this. I just mean like... To just finish, for me, just finishing off work and coming over and just doing it now feels so much better than trying to go home, or what we were doing for my day off, trying to readjust my schedule for a little bit, trying to get 4 hours of sleep before I come over here. Now I'm just like, okay, I just finished off work, still got the momentum going, let's go.
Yeah, and for me, it works out because taking it off of Monday nights means that I can go to the gym on that night.
Yes,
so it's another night I can go to the gym, and I will start going to the gym on Mondays, because I've been only going twice a week, and I'm like, no, more.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a fucking move for me. I love it.
This is a good one. I like this.
Yeah. I'm good though.
Okay.
I have, so Garrett and I are still working on our Pokemon Soul Silver,
yes,
Nuzlocke, Randomizer, Soul Link, or whatever order of words you want that in. Which is still going really well, super fun. We still haven't lost any Pokemon, which is great.
There you go.
So I fully expect us to get kicked in the throats.
This just means in one fight you're gonna lose 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be devastating.
It's been dicey a couple of times, but nothing too bad. I'm just worried once Pokemon get higher level that somebody's gonna throw out something that we do not expect, and we're just gonna be like, fuck, it's gonna take out our team.
Well, we weren't ready for this at all.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, just same old, going to the gym, working a lot.
Nice.
Dance has started up again for me, which is really great. Yeah, so I'm choreographing a couple of pieces in the show this year, which it's been a little bit, but I'm excited to get back to it. I'm doing a Florence and the Machine piece that I am very enamored with.
Oh, very cool.
It's very cool. It's old Florence and the Machine. It's her first I think album, but anyways, it's gonna be really
I was gonna say, you trying to explain it to me what the song is when you wasted. I know all Florence and the Machine. I'm not
no worries.
I'm a big fan.
I realized when I should have turned around.
You're all good.
But it's kind of ooky spooky, which is kind of the vibe I like to do.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then I'm also doing a sea shanty medley, which I'm very excited about. Very hokey, very musical theater.
Oh hell yes, that's the best.
But super fun. Yeah, and I was thinking about it. I was like, has anyone ever done a sea shanty at our company's dance show? I don't think so. I've only been there for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's one. So I'm excited about.
Well, the revival of the love for the of the sea shanty is fairly recent.
Correct.
I know the TikTok trend was a year and a half ago now, but
yeah, absolutely. And that's when I choreographed to the first sea shanty that I choreographed to, which it was going around. The last shanty, was going around as a sound on TikTok, and everybody was putting on their pirate garb, and I was like, this is fire. It would make a really cool line dance, and so I choreographed a line dance to the last shanty.
Hell yes.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did that. I love the last shanty. I legitimately just love it.
Yeah, it's so fucking fun.
It's such a fun song.
Yeah. So I've been showing people that line dance for a couple years now.
Nice.
That's great.
That's awesome.
How about you? What are you up to?
Not much. Everything's been pretty cool. I'm doing pretty...
Hey, Blizzard, what the fuck again, guys? What are we doing? Why are we still assholes?
The soapbox came back out for you at home audio listeners.
Yeah, the audio listeners, I very quickly slammed the soapbox for this portion of the show.
I thought we were going to have a nice, calm, relaxing podcast this morning. Boy, was I wrong.
No, absolutely not. So, your husband, our lovely editor, sent me a thing. I'm not sure if he shared it with you. Concerning another thing that has happened with the lovely company Blizzard with the release of Overwatch 2.
He probably shared it with me, and it's sitting in my TikTok inbox.
Probably. Well, I
Because
asked
I'm
him.
that
I asked him to make sure you were at least somewhat informed about it, but that's okay.
It's okay.
So
Sorry, go ahead. Educate me.
no, you're all good. So Overwatch 2 has come out, and I don't know if this was always the case with Overwatch. I feel like not, but apparently now it's free to play.
I think it was a thing.
Was it always? Has
I
Overwatch
think it
always been
was
free
one
to
of
play?
those kind of like other battle royale type games where it's like, yeah, it's free to play, but if you want anything good, you gotta pay for it.
Right. Well, they got their own like everything else now. They've got their own like online membership thing. Essentially, you sign up for it or to sign in and play the game, whatnot, and keep track of your stats and stuff like that. And they did a thing where they wanted people to attach their phone numbers to their account, which I'm like, oh, weird. What I read into it was that this was a way to sort of like combat hacking and cheating online and whatnot.
Sure.
More than like, which on a certain level does make sense, and I get it, because like you can boot a player with an email, they could just make a new email and re-sign up and keep doing their bullshit.
Right, but
if there's a number
harder.
attached to it, it's a lot harder to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, let me just mute my laptop real quick since I'm getting notifications. The main issue though was that it only worked with smartphones. So if you had, with like long-term contracts as well. So like if you had a prepaid phone with like someone like Cricket or Boost Mobile or something like that you were like, it was a pay-as-you-go kind of system for it, you could not play. Like it wasn't just like didn't have access to perks and shit. You just could not fucking play Overwatch. And just a lot of users online, like talking to Kotaku and a bunch of other places, were just like, yeah, it kind of feels like I'm being punished for being broke. Like,
Right.
just doesn't seem cool. And I don't want to just assume that there was like nefarious intent, but I could see the fucking boardroom at Blizzard full of just like dumb old white guys who were just like, yeah, this system works perfectly. Well, what if somebody doesn't? Well, what if somebody can't afford a smartphone? Well, then they're poor and they can't pay for shit in the game anyway. We don't want them here. Like, I just feel that happening. So look,
Yeah.
whether or not, and Blizzard has already come out and said that that they're gonna stop doing it, and by yesterday, I think they stopped restricting it to only people with phone calls and with particular phones and phone numbers and whatnot. And I'm all about the move to keep cheaters and hackers and stuff out of a game like that.
Absolutely.
I'm all about that. But man,
But like swing and a miss.
big swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Especially for something like that with a free-to-play game too. Like, it just feels extra rough because like.
Yeah.
I get the thing with free-to-play games is like the way you make your money is by people paying for shit in the game. I totally understand that. However, just don't do it in such like a fucking like Animal Farm style way. Like, just don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, and emblematic of people high up in companies
Yeah.
being so out of touch.
Being very detached, being
Just-
incredibly out of touch.
Yeah.
And just being like, all kids have fucking smartphones.
Right.
On like a
Who doesn't
plan,
have
right?
a smartphone?
Who doesn't
Right.
pay for their own subscription plan on a phone? Like, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
I have 9 kids. 7 of them, I have no idea who they are, but they've all got smartphones.
I make sure they have smartphones.
I don't know their names, but they get a smartphone every year for Christmas.
My God. Yeah. Sounds about right.
I'm getting a strongly worded letter from Blizzard.
They can try to come for us.
It'd be amazing if we get a cease and desist from Blizzard.
That would be our claim to fame. We would
100%.
we'd put it in our Twitter bio.
It's gonna hang right here for
Right
every
here,
episode.
yeah.
You kidding me?
Framed right
I'm gonna
here.
hang it up like I would a diploma.
That's great. So other than Blizzard being assholes again, what's up?
I'm very excited. I did my pre-order for the Dead Space remake.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I saw it was available to pre-order online, and I was just like, yeah, So it's all set. Like, it's why I love gaming now, because like I pre-ordered it on my Xbox, which means the day it comes out, it's just gonna start downloading onto my Xbox.
Yeah, it's
like
pretty lit.
immediately.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, this is so good. So
Yeah.
very, very excited.
I need to pre-order some games too. I need to pre-order the new Pokemon game, and I need to pre-order the new Breath of the Wild.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
What's cool though about it is that like I feel like pre-ordering is much easier now, especially online, because like I feel like when back in the day when I'd go to GameStop and shit like that to pre-order
When the dinosaurs roamed the
when the
earth,
dinosaurs
yes.
roamed the earth and I rode my horse and buggy there, fuck you.
When you took your covered wagon to the
Covered
Target.
wagon to the Target.
Hitched up my covered wagon, went down to the Target. Sorry, continue.
One copy of Metal Gear Solid, please. Old Grandpa's confused again. No, but going there, it was always just like you had to put down like a little. You have to put down some money. Like it would be like $5 or $10 or whatever, but like you have to put something down there. This was like it told me the full amount for the game, and I was like, cool, and I hit it, but I'm not going to get charged until the game comes out.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's pretty solid. I like this. So it's like, it's set for it now, and if I don't have any money in my account, sorry. No, I'll be good. Other than that, just like actual gaming wise, didn't realize it. It was something I started playing on my laptop when it first came out and liked it, but just like I'm a creature of habit, so I need a controller and I need a big TV and I need the setup and whatnot, But I found out that Fall Guys is available for Xbox, so I was just like, let's download that, and I've just been having a blast again with it.
Oh yeah, fun.
Just chilling out for and it's so good because it's like, it could take me 30 minutes to get through a couple rounds of the game. I could be done in 10 minutes as well, depending on how bad of a day I'm having in the game.
Yeah.
And just been having a giggly good fucking time. Just running around playing that again. So it's kind of been it for me. I feel like it's October, so I feel like I should be playing something a little ooky spooky.
I know.
But I'm like, there's nothing out at the moment that's available anyway that is like something that interests me as far as like a spooky game goes that I haven't already played.
Right.
Because like for this, I've gone through the Resident Evil games again, which was wonderful and fun, and I love them. But I just did that. I've gotten to the point with Outlast where I'm just like, if I'm gonna do it again, I'm gonna do like the nightmare difficulty run, where it's like if you die, you start all the way from the beginning again.
I was watching, speaking of Outlast,
Yes, go.
I was watching the other day a speed run. I think Games Done Quick just did recently. Somebody ran Outlast and like showcased it. That game is held together by the digital equivalent of paper clips and duct tape.
Oh, this I've known. This I've actually known. It is janky and broken as hell.
It is so broken.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because he was doing kind of like a showcase of like more of like a slow speed run of like, let's kind of show you like what's going on here. And it was, it's so broken. So broken.
I only know that because watching, I think it was Achievement Hunter, I watched them play it at one point. And the Traeger, the dude with the big scissors who chases you around at one point, probably the best and worst section of the game simultaneously.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
They kept dying in that section, but then just like they glitched into a wall and they ended up in the ceiling and they were able to just and then they fell out exactly where they were like, all right.
So it was explained, just to get into like speedrunning and glitches a little bit. In Outlast in particular, there's ways that the game tries to resolve you, like if your character model is in a wall or like in a door or something, it's like, that can't happen.
Yeah.
So it immediately raises you up and puts you on top of whatever you're on to resolve the error. And it's like, yeah, you're in the ceiling now. That's much better. Yeah. And most of the walls.
What are you doing on the floor?
walls.
There, that's where we want you to be. Right up there. Perfect.
Yeah. No, during the run, the guy was showing off things, and he was like, you know the part where you meet the guy that chases you for like pretty much the whole game. I forget his name.
Oh, the real
big guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was the first time that he had come out, and you're supposed to like hide in the locker for the first time to like learn that mechanic. It was right after that he ran past the guy, and then was like, and you go boop 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 boop, and you're in the basement, and he's like pulling the lever, and I was just like, what the fuck? Speedruns are wild.
They are
wild.
We've gone over it before. They're just like, I find them fascinating and infuriating because I just sit there going like, I could have just done that in that whole section.
Yeah.
Do I want to know how long it took? Like, I know it was a slower
So
run,
there's a
but-
lot of different categories for Outlast.
Oh, okay.
The runner in particular for that run that I'm referring to was doing 100%. So that's
Got
getting
it.
all of the recordings and all of the documents.
Got you. Okay.
There's also categories that are like, you have to like walk through all 8 chapters. Not like actually go through them and hit all the story points, but you have to touch all of them.
Your character has to go through the areas
Exactly.
that counts as the
And
challenge.
then
Gotcha.
there's a run that's just strictly gets the credits, which
Yeah.
is like the base like achievement level for any game, right?
Yeah.
The get to the credits run is like 5 minutes. Yeah, it's
That's so-
stupid.
So it makes me so mad. It makes me very upset.
It's just so broken.
That's insane.
It's just so broken.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it
Yeah.
just so? Do you just like hop out of the Jeep and like glitch into like one section and then just there you are, pretty much?
Pretty much. I haven't watched it, but like they were referring to it in the run that I was watching. They were like, "Oh yeah. No, you can beat this game in 5 minutes."
But that probably can't be fun to watch at a certain point. Like
I would find it fun.
that's fair. Okay.
Well, with that out of the way, are you ready to get into what we're really here to talk about?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do it.
Yes. All right.
Well, now that all that's out of the way, let's jump back into the world of zombies, corporate espionage, and cheesy dialogue as we revisit the rest of the timeline for Resident Evil.
Can you do me like a here's what you missed on Glee of the first 3 games? Real
Here's
quick.
what you
Just
missed
real
on
quick.
Glee.
Just real quick.
Yeah, sure thing. So,
For me and for anybody else out there that's
Oh, I
like
got you.
didn't see the
so here's what you missed on Resident Evil.
yeah.
The STARS team members went up into the mountains and found zombies, and they blew it up and escaped, and vowed to take down Umbrella. And then the next one, Jill Valentine escaped the city before it blew up because of zombies, and vowed to take down Umbrella. But that was actually Game 3 that I just described. So now we're jumping back to Game 2, where Leon Kennedy shows up because it's his first day as a cop in the Raccoon City Police Department. And Claire's also there looking for brother Chris, who's from the first game. They fight off a bunch of zombies, the city blows up, and they vow to take down Umbrella. And that's what you missed on Resident Evil. There we go.
Cool. Love it. Thank
Now that
you.
we've got the recap there. 9 times out of 10, the story for Resident Evil ends with, and they blew it up and vowed.
And they blew it up and they vowed to take down Umbrella.
Pretty much. That's how it goes. Yeah. So,
They found a formula and it works.
pretty
And-
much.
and
Yeah.
we should not make them apologize for
Oh
that.
no, I'm not. Well, you say it works. It worked up to a certain point, and we will get into where it starts to break down today. Because where we start off with today is going to be in Resident Evil 4. Because now we rejoin Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2, last seen escaping Raccoon City, as we just said, where he has now been sent on a mission to a small town in Spain to rescue the president's daughter this time.
Spy Kids 2.
Pretty much. And I gotta say, I was very happy that we wound up sort of splitting our timeline up into 2 episodes, because I was gonna try to pound through it all in 1 episode, and I'm glad we did that, because now we can really kind of emphasize a very major shift in the gameplay style that Resident Evil takes. As we talked about before, Resident Evil 1 through 3 originally.
Right.
This isn't talking about the remakes, but the original 3, it was the tank controls that we've talked about, where it's sort of like camera angle perspective,
Right.
like very narrow controls, very narrow viewpoints.
You're not in control of the camera and you're just like forward and back, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Silent Hill.
Yes, very Silent Hill. Resident Evil 4 does a full, like, I best I could say would be like a 180 into a third-person shooter perspective for the game. And what makes it really, really interesting and exceptional as a part in the game series is that one, with that shift, there was a lot of players at the time who were very concerned about, like, well, that's a lot of part of what makes the game scary, and what makes survival horror as a genre scary is the lack of control the player has over all of the elements. Really helps create that feeling of, like, well, what the fuck else do? I can't, I don't have all these options that would have in real life, hopefully. So I have to sort of like work within the mechanics to get out alive. Whereas with 4, there was a bit of a concern of like, well, if it's just going to be a third-person shooter, then it's going to work like a Gears knockoff or something like that, and it's not going to feel as scary anymore. 4 is exceptional in the fact that not only is it still a terrifying fucking game, but it is considered to be, by a lot of fans, including myself, one of, if not the best game in the Resident Evil series. And then 5 and 6 happened, but we're going to get to that in just a second. So, first, start off with Resident Evil 4. So, in Resident Evil 4, players control U.S. government agent Leon S. Kennedy, who is sent on a mission to rescue the U.S. president's daughter, Ashley Graham, who's been kidnapped by a cult. In rural Spain, Leon fights hordes of villagers infected by a mind-controlling parasite and reunites with the spy, Ada Wong. So that's the other thing to talk about for Resident Evil 4 too, is that it is not just in like look and perspective in terms of like how the game is played, but it's the first departure from the original storyline as far as the main story goes. We're not directly dealing with Umbrella anymore. We're not even dealing with the same virus anymore. It's a brand new thing called, I believe in this one, it goes by two names. I think in this one they call it Las Plagas or the Ouroboros virus. Which is funny that it is called that it would be called a no, that can't be right because it's not a virus. It is a parasite that infects you and turns you into not technically an undead creature, but it's a little bit different. Whereas before Resident Evil, you are dealing with zombies, which is, the standard trying to come and eat you and stuff. Yeah, pretty much. And that is like, I love zombies. I've been a zombie fan since I was like 16. I love zombie games. I love doing that stuff. But in 4, the enemies you encounter, they can actually talk and coordinate and somewhat strategize. Like they're limited, they're slow moving. They're not. You're not dealing with like full on sprinters yet. But it's a little bit more of an issue to deal with things that could actually like. One of the first missions in the game that's great is that Leon shows up in this small town in Spain. Walks up to a dude in his house and is just like, "Hey, I'm looking for the president's daughter. Do you know this chick?" Dude pulls out a hatchet, turns around, starts swinging at him, and you got to shoot him. And you end up running like deeper into the village in like a small like town area, where eventually they pick up on you. You have to run into a building and close the door behind you. And there's a great cutscene where you see all of these like gray, sort of creepy red-eyed villagers surrounding the house, and they're speaking in Spanish, and they're just like shouting to each other, and they're talking about like coordinating like. Get on the roof, get around the house, like do this, cut off his exits, get the chainsaw, because there's also dudes with chainsaws that come at you, which is horrifying. It's so scary. And as a Resident Evil fan, the first time you experience that, you're just like, I wasn't ready for this at all. I thought we were still going to be dealing with idiot undead.
Idiot Walking Dead,
yeah. But it's such a good staple in this series.
Cool. So they're like the velociraptors of zombies.
Very, very much so. And something else it adapts to is the mechanic that is done in the Resident Evil 1 remake. We talked about it a little bit with the Crimson Heads, where if you didn't blow off a zombie's head, they would come back meaner and faster. Now you have an added mechanic where it's some of them have been so deeply infected with this plague virus that their heads will explode and like a big, like stringy, like gross looking, like plague, like gross looking parasite looking thing.
Lovecraftian type of
somewhat Lovecraftian, I would say, with like gross eyes like hanging out of it and shit, and they are way harder to fucking kill, and just it's so. I could do a whole episode just talking about how much I love Resident Evil 4. It's so good, and with the added thing too of like, it's not a co-op game, but for 70% of the game, you're not alone. You're not alone because. You fairly quickly find the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, just to drop some more names here. Fairly quickly find her just like hiding off somewhere, and then you have to take her with you.
So it becomes an escort. It becomes not even just an escort mission; it's an escort game. Then
it's pretty much an escort game at that point.
Oh no!
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But it is not as like she can get hurt and she could die, but it is not as much of a pain in the ass as it could have been. First off. In certain areas where they're just throwing hordes of monsters at you for you to fight off. There's options to like, Ashley, go hide over here, jump in this dumpster, and like, unless they go and find her and pull her out of it, she's more or less pretty much safe. You just have to kind of keep an eye on that.
Okay.
And even then, but like, there's moments where it's having to keep an eye on her while she goes and does other tasks for you and making sure that things stay off of her and whatnot.
Right.
Which adds more to the anxiety and the fear of the game too, because it's with this one, with the opening it up to it being a third-person game, they added more weapon options, more customized options for the weapons and whatnot. So there's a lot more firepower literally to the game that you can have. And again, just like going from I think I'm aiming at him to I know I'm aiming at him is a big difference in gameplay. So I think they did that to sort of add another level of like, okay, let's make sure that people still like want to shit themselves while they play this game. I think it was just there as like, an assurance. As a mechanic, it actually is not as horrible as it could be, because I've done games with escort. I know everyone knows the games with the escort missions where you're just like, okay, I just gotta get through this part, and then this game can be fun again.
Exactly.
They do a good balance of like how much time you spend with her, how much time is you making sure you need her to be safe, and because she gets kidnapped again at one point, and then it's so you do get some more time to run around by yourself, and then it just adds a little bit more to the game.
It's adding, not detracting.
It's adding, not detracting, and it doesn't. You don't feel bogged down by it. And the game gives you different options of like different ways you could go about things too. So it's, like there's a section in the game where it's there's a creature in it that is just a giant. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. But it's a big, gray, gross-looking, just monstrous giant thing that just smashes buildings and knocks you on your ass and sends you flying across the map and shit. And there's a part where it's like, okay, you could go down this path where you go and fight him, and you can't do anything with Ashley. She has to be there with you while you fight it, and this thing can kill her in one hit.
Oof.
Or there's another path you go on. Does have somewhere where she can hide, and she'll be safe. They can't see her there. But then you, alone, have to fight, like, 12 monsters with chainsaws. And it's like, I didn't say they were good options. I just said that they were options. Since it's a survival horror game, we're not going to give you anything good.
No. So you escort the president's daughter back.
Yes.
You blow her up, and you vow revenge against Umbrella, right? That's how this ends?
So, fairly early on in the game, you discovered that Leon and the president's daughter have been infected with this plague virus.
Okay.
And so before you escape with her, it becomes a mission to find the cure and save yourself, which is where Ada from Resident Evil 2 comes into play.
Okay.
Because she's there, if I remember right, she's working for Wesker, who is now working against Umbrella. I think, if I've got my timeline right there. I'm pretty sure. Someone go ahead and correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. Again, some of this is getting into like the outside of the main timeline game territory and whatnot. There's a whole side game where Wesker just like goes off and just like himself vows to take down Umbrella, but does it through like the stock exchange, and it's just like, this isn't, what are you doing? Like, this isn't what I want in a video game.
Resident Evil stonks.
like literally he fucking Bitcoins him to death. It's ridiculous. But she's working for him in order to get the cure and the plague virus out of there, so they can start using it to sell to people for bioweapons. It's all about selling bioweapons to like the highest bidder and evil terrorist organizations and blah 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 blah. So that's why she's there. And at the end of the game, you blow up Lord Sadler, she throws you a rocket launcher. You blow up this motherfucker named Lord Sadler, who is the cult leader of everything, who was the one who kidnapped the daughter in order to try to use her as like leverage. And you blow him up, and you take the cure and the virus. And at this point, Ashley and Leon had found a different way to cure themselves. But you take the main cure and the virus. Ada points a fucking gun at you, just because Ada's gonna fucking Ada. One thing you gotta know is that Ada Wong is a true neutral party throughout most of the Resident Evil games, and that she is only there to make money. Doesn't care about like larger repercussions. She's there to make her fucking check. And so she grabs the shit, hops in an helicopter, pretty much shouts down to Leon, hey, by the way, this island's gonna blow up in 15 minutes. You might want to grab the president's daughter and bounce. And you two get on a jet ski and fucking fly away together. And then the president's daughter makes some suggestion that they should hook up later and go on a date or something like that. Because, of course, it's a little... I didn't say the game held up. I just said that it was a good game when it came out.
Fair.
Some very problematic elements in the Resident Evil game series for a lot of different reasons. But that's like the long and short of Resident Evil 4 for the most part.
Okay, which is your favorite one? No vowing to get back at Umbrella, as they weren't much of an entity in this.
As far as Leon is concerned, Umbrella is fairly uninvolved in what happened there.
Oh.
As far as he knows. Yes. Well, again, like I said, Ada's there kind of working as an agent for Wesker, who I don't remember if he was or wasn't working for Umbrella at the time. I don't think he was. I think there was some plan to like reestablish Umbrella at some point. I think that's what was going on.
Gotcha.
As well. It's confusing, and this is where so much of this background shit gets so fucking muddled.
I mean, as with any universe.
It's true.
As with any, like... What's the word I'm looking for? Like, not cinematic universe, but...
With any extended universe within a series,
exactly. Yeah,
it can get muddled.
Things can get weird.
Things can get very, very weird. Speaking of getting weird...
I was gonna say, take us into number 5.
Woo, Resident Evil 5. If you want... Man, you want an example of just, like, starting off so strong, and then just, like, kind of fumbling at the finish line. I just want to say, I know 5 is a fan favorite for a lot of people, and I have a lot of love for 5, but we gotta admit it's got some problems. It's got some issues.
You didn't like the ending? Is that what you just insinuated?
Yes and no. It's not a terrible ending. There was just, like, the way that the game kind of builds up doesn't quite. I'll be able to use Resident Evil 8 when we get to it as sort of an example to kind of encapsulate what I mean when we get there. But just to go over the overall plot really quickly here, it involves an investigation of a terrorist threat by Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance agents Chris Redfield and Shiva Alamar in Kijuju, a fictional region of West Africa. So if I fucked it up, it doesn't matter. It's not real.
Wow. The noble people of Kijuju are upset.
No, they're not. They're not real. Chris learns that he must confront his past in the form of an old enemy, Albert Wesker, and his former partner, Jill Valentine.
Dun dun dun!
Yeah, so in this one, Stars is no more. And Chris has joined this organization, which I'm pretty sure is mentioned in here. Yeah, it's the BSAA, which is basically, as far as he knows, an organization put together to fight against bioterrorism in particular. And just talking about, like, shifts in style and gameplay and whatnot, what sets 5 off from any other Resident Evil game, except maybe, no, Zero's not even a co-op game, is that 5 is a co-op game. It is a 2-person couch co-op game that you can play online as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I do have fond memories of losing hours and hours and hours with my buddy David, sitting on the couch, just like killing time in this game, because it is a, I'll say this for it is a fun play. Like, it's a very fun game to play. It's in a series where the story is already muddled and confusing. It doesn't do a lot to help at a certain point, because it tries. Here's what it is for me. I think it tries to reveal too much in a single game, storyline wise, because you find out the origins of the T virus came from the same area too, and like this is where the founders of Umbrella found a particular plant that they were able to use to make the virus, and like it all just, they try to tie everything together too much in one game, and you find out that Wesker was sort of bred and built to be this like ultimate superhuman bioweapon himself, and that a dude that we've assumed has been dead for like 60 years, Spencer, who owned the mansion in the very, very first game, the Spencer Manor, is in fact still alive and was a co-founder of Umbrella, but no, he's not, because Wesker killed him before the game starts.
Okay.
Because that's where the angle comes in with Jill Valentine, like I mentioned in the plot here, is that she was with the BSAA with Chris. They found out that Wesker was hiding out with Spencer. They go to find him, and then in a very dramatic moment, Jill tackles Wesker out of a window, and they supposedly fall down a cliff together and die, as far as Chris is concerned. But they both pop back up here, but now Jill's under like mind control and can't control her actions and is trying to kill Chris, and also her boobs are out for some fucking reason.
Just the male gaze, that's
pretty
why.
Much. But at the top of the game, where this game does do really, really well is, again, like 4, there was concern going into it with like the change in perspective, like losing sort of the credibility of it being a scary game. And especially doing that and doing it with this one with a co-op element.
Somebody's running around with her tits out. I can't imagine a more scary thing.
Well, for you. just don't show me your vagina. Don't show me your vagina. Oh, God. That's terrible.
That's terrible. God.
Oh, so there goes our idea of being a progressive podcast. just stereotyped women and gays all in one fucking swoop. We did it.
It's cool. We'll do like we'll edit that out a little.
No, it's there. What? It's there.
Bring us back in.
Bring us back in. No, we're good. We're good. We're fine. But in the addition to co-op, that's where you could really get tricky, especially with horror games, because it's like, well, if I've got someone that could just save my ass, then like, where's this? And if they can also hold stuff, where's the scare factor for it at this point? You know what I mean? What they did was really smart. It is a 2-player co-op game, but they limit your inventory system. They limit what kind of stuff each player can carry. So it kind of forces you to kind of like coordinate a little bit of like, okay, how many bullets do you have? Fuck. Okay. Well, I've got a shotgun. You've got an assault rifle. So you take that ammo. Okay, I'm full up. I can't take this healing potion. Or this first aid. Can you grab it? But I'm gonna need it later. So it's like it really makes you have to coordinate a lot with your partner.
I like that. It's
really cool.
I like when getting through a game becomes a little bit of like a puzzle.
Yes.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, but you can't just like each focus on like one thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You both have to find a balance of like, okay, what am I going to carry? Cool. What are you going to carry?
Yeah.
Really,
I like it when
fun.
an unexpected thing becomes the puzzle, like an inventory. Like that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this like mechanic that just like seemed to be whatever is like now part of the puzzle of getting through the game. Yeah. I like that.
Well, Resident Evil has always done a fairly good job with that. Like I know for the remake for Resident Evil, it was the way they have it set up is that it's like it's standard like box inventory system, but then you have like an outside inventory system to your character that you could like load stuff in and like just be like, well, I found 12 healing herbs. I don't need all these right now. I'm gonna need them later on. Stuff them in a box. Go around. But also, it's connected throughout the game, so you could open up any one of these inventory boxes and be able to pull your stuff out. Standard video game stuff, cool.
Yeah.
For Zero, they limited your inventory system and did not connect the inventory boxes at all. So it forced you to be like, okay, I could leave this here and then come back and hopefully find it later and then continue on. Yeah, it does good stuff like that. Whereas with this, it's just like, neither one of us can carry this. Keep moving. I can fuck it. Maybe we'll come back. I don't think we will, but fuck it.
Yep, kill your darlings. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so
but
what's going on?
So what's going on is that you are like I said, you're in this made-up city in Africa. You're made-up region in Africa, investigating some bioterrorism stuff because there has been something done now with the Los Plagas plague from Resident Evil 4 that is now being used in this small area that is infecting people. And there's like a warlord setup kind of thing going on right now, as well as like other corporate espionage type things and whatnot. I'm going to be very honest with this one. 5 and 6, I was not able to find a copy up to play again, and I did my best to refamiliarize myself with the story on both of them, but just like time, jobs, blah, 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 gets a little muddled. And also, going through it for 5 and for 6, I was just like, God, so much shit happens and barely any of it makes sense anymore. Like, it just... Some of it in like the later game, in like 7 and 8 has been like kind of retconned, so it's like it's not... I don't know how much is even still canon in the timeline anymore, but fucking here we are. But you're down there and you're supposed to just be like doing like a light investigation into like what's going on down there. You have a man that you're meeting up with. You meet your new partner. What was her name? I think it's Shiva Alamar. I think is how it's pronounced. It's Shiva or Sheva, but I'm pretty sure it's Shiva. I think.
Okay.
Who also underrated character in the game series. I love her. She's a really good character and a good fit into the game. But you're down, and you're supposed to be meeting up with somebody who's supposed to help you, like guide you through shit and whatnot. And then he immediately gets killed by a man with a giant axe.
Okay.
And then once again, you find yourself fighting off hordes of these. Now, not quite undead because they're more.
Oh, they're smarter.
They're very much similar to the ones from Resident Evil 4. So once again, it's that coordinated effort, like trying to blah 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 blah. And starts great because you're like, this is familiar, this is cool. Let's just see how it builds from here. And then it just slowly turns into an action game. Is kind of where the problem lies.
Okay.
I don't know if that was on purpose on their end or not, but just like it stops being scary and you're just running and gunning and shooting. To the point of which that by the end of the game, the same like zombie-esque creatures that you're fighting start shooting guns back at you.
Oh.
And you're like, well, this is legitimately just a third-person shooter at this point. Like, this doesn't have the same feel.
Doesn't feel like I'm playing a zombie game.
Yeah. To the point of which that, like, the last fight in the game, you're fighting a mutated version of Albert Wesker inside of a fucking volcano.
Okay.
And it's so...
Sure.
It's so over the top. This is one of the talking points I have. If you want to get, like, the idea of like where we start to where it ends is that the beginning of the game is literally just you as Chris Redfield or Sheva, depending if you're the player 2 or not, walking through the middle of this like town as you're just like kind of like slowly noticing that like some of the people look a little bit grayer, like things like the eyes look weird. It's what's so funny?
Like I'm just imagining like walking through like, man, these people need to get out. They need to get some sun.
I feel a little bit, but it's just like you're just
When's the
gonna
last time you saw an orange?
yeah. I think you need some vitamin C in your life.
You need to.
But just like, and you're kind of watching just like kind of fucked up shit happen, and you're just kind of like, okay, we can't, like, we're someone here on like a political thing. We can't get directly involved. We need to like hang back a little bit here. And so it's just very creepy, slow opening to it. To literally, it's you're playing Chris later in the game. A giant boulder drops on top of you, and you literally punch it out of your way. And it's insane and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's been memed
like
the
it.
hell out of shit. And again, couldn't, even with rereading stuff, couldn't tell you overall, like, what else I was doing there. I know Wesker's involved, and he was the one that sort of introduced the plague virus to everything going on there, and is mind controlling Jill. But then you blow him up in the volcano.
You blow him up and you swear revenge against Umbrella, right?
I don't know if there's any swearing against Umbrella, because again, at this point, I'm pretty sure everyone's convinced that Umbrella is dead and gone, or on its way to dying.
Oh, okay.
On its way to dying. Yes, it's got to be on its way to dying, because that's what actually could lead us into Resident Evil 6.
Okay, yeah.
As long as I answered all of our questions for Resident Evil 5.
I mean,
I'm doing my best, guys. I'm telling you. This shit, again, I apologize for all the shit I gave you for Zelda. That is just the hero's journey compared to this fucking nonsense. All right, so Resident Evil 6. Oh god, okay. You're gonna understand why I sigh here as I explain the beginning of the plot for this game. Players control Leon S. Kennedy, Chris Redfield, Jake Muller, and Ada Wong as they confront the force behind a worldwide bioterrorism attack. The story is centered around their 4 interwoven campaigns, and every campaign features a unique style in both tone and gameplay. I never finished Resident Evil 6 all the way through, because it's 4 different campaigns wrapped into one, and only one of them, and this is where I will fight fans, only one of them is a good campaign. The other 3 are just so unnecessarily weird and annoying, and they just do such dumb shit within them. So the only one I can really speak on is the one where you play as Leon and a new chick in the game. What the hell was her name? Oh yeah, we'll just get into the main plot for that one then real quick. So the game starts with Leon being promised by the President of the United States, whose daughter you saved previously, that he's finally going to expose Umbrella. He's finally going to take down the evil Umbrella Corporation.
We've been saying we're going to do it for 5 games. We're finally going to do it.
Yeah, but Umbrella saw this, or the remaining members of Umbrella saw this coming, and they managed to turn the president into a zombie. Because why wouldn't you just kill him if you're going to do something fucked up like that? No. But so before the president makes this big speech at Ivy University, which I think is like a made up place in like a small...
Ivy University?
Yeah, I know. You went to Ivy University? You don't mean you went to an Ivy League college?
Yeah, anyways, yeah.
Can you feel they kind of stopped caring a little bit at this point and stuff like that?
They're like, we need a name for this university. What should we call Ivy University?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's a little on the note? Yes.
It's Resident Evil. Who cares? But he's now teaming up with another woman named Helena Harper as they try to escape the nightmare and uncover the truth again. This one is pretty standard. It's back to formula, but just like with a new skin to it. It's the T-virus. It's zombies again, straight up. But the main thing for the shortcomings for this one is just overall, it's just a mess. It's trying to do, not even storyline wise, overall the whole game is trying to do too many things at once, because, you know, why focus on making one campaign good? We could just throw like 4 mediocre ones in there. That makes sense, right? But it's just like they pretty much take any like restrictions on the characters off. So it's like there's so much more like, there's just too much you can do in the game that it's not scary anymore. It's like it would be like playing Resident Evil with John Wick is basically what happens here. And you're just like, well, that's not, again, it's like this, I don't know if it was a decision by somebody intentionally at Capcom where they went, okay, now Resident Evil is just going to be action games where you fight zombies and shit like that, but just like even the Chris campaign for the little bit I played of it, it's a third-person shooter where it just happens to have zombies and shit in it, and that's it. There's really no split or difference, and it's just it's an entry in the series to me, just kind of that I look back on, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, this was a bummer. Like, this was a bummer. Like, the game looked good. It was a very pretty game, but. And, like, it was kind of fun to play. Like, it was a good time. I remember dumping a decent amount of hours into the Leon campaign because I found the other three fucking insufferable to play. And the other one with Jake Mulder, you find out that you're Albert Wesker's son. And you have to play as a dude with, like, superpowers, which sounds like it could be fun. He is unfucking controllable. He's the worst. He's awful.
So the mechanics are annoying as great. Yeah.
The mechanics aren't great, and the character's annoying as hell.
Oh.
Which is like, and I say that saying that Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game, and Ashley, the President's Daughter, is an annoying fucking character. Look up, just do yourself a favor after this and just look up clips of Ashley from Resident Evil 4 and you'll understand what I mean.
Okay.
It's did you ever watch Jimmy Neutron growing up?
Yeah.
It's the annoying little blonde girl.
It's Cindy.
Yeah. It's that voice, but just in like a 19-year-old girl.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Aww.
So you're just like, I just want to kick you. I'm sorry, but this is...
So women are annoying, is what you're saying.
No, this woman in this game is annoying. Because she was clearly written by a room full of fucking boys who didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like you're fighting zombies, you're fighting baddies, you rediscover that Umbrella's fucking evil. It really doesn't add a whole lot to it. It doesn't. You could just the feel of the game overall to me is like, we gotta make a Resident Evil game. Like we have to make a game now. So let's put something out there that people might like. And it's just like, and they couldn't decide on one idea, so they tried to do all four of them, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It kind of falls apart. But thankfully, we have a savior.
A light in the darkness.
A hero emerges years later with Resident Evil 7. Another one of my favorites. This is of the most recent iterations of Resident Evil. And also, thankfully, fairly plot fucking simple, so I can get through these relatively quickly here, because we're getting there on time.
So, Resident Evil 7, that's the one, is that Village, or?
No, Village is 8.
That's 8, okay.
Yeah, there's it goes Resident Evil Biohazard, then Resident Evil Village are the last two.
Okay. Because Village is the one that I know the most about, which is still admittedly not a lot.
Yes.
But it was just so recent and so popular that it's like it was everywhere.
To which I will say, 7 and 8 both are like kind of resets to the series. Like it's
nice.
It's a continuation. Like everything that's happened in previous games is canon, but there's sort of resets to the thing. So if you are going to start someone Resident Evil, it's totally okay to start there.
Gotcha.
Because it's so much new shit happening that I don't think you'd be super lost.
Okay.
You would just need to know that Umbrella's evil. And that zombies were a thing. That's kind of like the basics of what you need to know.
Okay. So tell us about 7.
So in 7, the player controls Ethan Winters as he searches for his long-missing wife in a derelict plantation occupied by an infected family, solving puzzles and fighting enemies. This is such return to form in the fact that it's like you are back in just basically a large house on a giant property. You're running around, there's weird puzzle mechanics there, there's secret entrances, there's a bunch of weird shit happening, you're fighting off monsters as you go along. We are now in a first-person perspective, which is, again, another shift in like the look and feel of the game and whatnot. And it has that thing we talked about with Outlast, I think, where it just that narrow perspective now of just that just really like makes you feel like claustrophobic and tight and locked in. And they do something cool too, is that like Ethan Winters is like, he's not a soldier, he's not a fighter, he's just some fucking dude looking for his wife. So like you aren't just like mechanically in the game, like you don't know how to use a bunch of guns. You know what I mean? It's just like you have a shotgun, I think maybe you get a machine gun later on, and a pistol, and that's it. And you have a pocket knife. Like that's that's essentially all you have to defend yourself with. And like it does a good thing too, where it's like it's not a complicated mechanic system. Like it's pretty basic as far as your shooter goes, but that means it forces you, the player, to learn how to use those mechanics more to your advantage. So it's you figuring out like, okay, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this better? How do I move? How do I move better? How do I work around it? How do I forcing you to memorize pathways and stuff like that? And it's just some of the creepiest shit too, because the way that the family is that you're fighting. So essentially, for the game, you're fighting a family known as the Baker family, who are sort of like a fucked up zombified version of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. If that would,
it's Zombie Farmer Family. It's
really
it's Cabin in the Woods.
pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. And it's just like, oh, they're so creepy and fucking just wonderful. And each one you go across has its own, like, in a great way that Resident Evil does things. And I was so glad they came back to this. Like, each boss essentially that you encounter has their own like way you have to fight them. Like Jack Baker, who's the father of the family, he's just a tank, and he is just shoot him, hit him, kick him, punch him, just until he
take him down
until he dies, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he also comes back multiple times in different mutations and different forms and blah 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 blah.
Because it's Resident Evil,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then the mother, Marguerite Baker, I hate her so much because she's all about bugs. She's like, she can control bugs and shit like that. Then she herself turns into this creepy, long-limbed, like spidery looking thing to fight, like it crawl through holes in the walls and come out and jump on you and shit. It's so good. Yeah. You don't fight Lucas Baker in the main game, but you find out that he has actually been studying what's been going on in terms of like this new mold infection that is actually taking over and whatnot and forcing the family to change and whatnot. And he's been selling the information to another evil organization that wants to take the information and sell it to the highest bidder. Not Umbrella, though. This one is not Umbrella. So you find out there's all that stuff going on. But our main baddie is a little girl named Evelyn.
Just little Evelyn Baker.
Just little Evelyn, but not even Baker.
Not Baker, oh.
Because your wife, Mia, was working for a company where she was keeping an eye on Evelyn because she was being raised and bred to be a bioweapon as well. And you, as Ethan Winters, had no fucking clue. Your wife just told you she's going on a babysitting job. No idea what the fuck she's up to, but she's been working on this thing for a long time, and Evelyn breaks out. She was being kept on a ship that went by the Baker residence, and as she broke out, the Bakers, who were legit, it's really sad because the Bakers were actually a nice family, and they make a point to point that out in the game. It's like, other than Lucas, who was a shithead the whole time, like, these were nice people because they pulled Evelyn in to be like, found this little girl in the fucking swamp, Jesus, and like pulled her in to rescue her, and she ended up using her ability to control this mold that now is there to take over the family because as a child raised to do this, she didn't have a family. So the whole thing is like she's trying to take over this family to keep as her own.
It's like that fungus that takes over insects.
Somewhat, yeah.
It's kind of that idea. Similar. Like if you equivocate like Evelyn to
if you were to figure something out.
Yeah. It's kind of like the zombie whatever they call it.
I forget what it's called.
The zombie fungus. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I will say for 7 as well, if you ever played it, if anybody else hasn't played it, get it with the DLC. The DLC is really cool. A couple of them are really fun. Some of them are really fucking creepy as well. Like there's one where it's just you're playing as like a side character that gets introduced in the game that has died in canon in the game, but you're playing a part where you are handcuffed to a bed with Marguerite coming in to try to make you eat this gross, like, weird, like, human meat-filled, like, soup.
Hey, big boy.
Kind of. Think more like fucking, like, over-the-top misery. Like, that's really, like, more of the feel for it.
You cock-a-doodle.
Kind of.
You poop.
Kind of. But it's just like, and whenever she leaves the room, you have to, like, carefully unhook yourself from the bed, get up, and, like, go try to figure out how to get out of the room. But eventually she's going to come back, and then you have, like, 30 seconds to put everything away back the way it was. Because if she notices that stuff has moved around the room, she's going to fucking kill you. So just, like, fun stuff for stuff like that. And it was just, like, it's just 7 is just such a breath of fresh air in the game as well, because it's like, oh my god, this is pure horror. It's terrifying as hell. These characters are interesting. The story is really, really interesting. It's a great looking game as well, and the mechanics in it are just like well fucking executed. And just overall, just replayed it again for this thing, and it's such a highlight. It's such a good fucking game. That again, if you haven't played it, if you haven't really played a Resident Evil game, it's a good place to start because like it's sort of a restart to the series as well. So it'd be a good place to start, and it perfectly flows into the most recent Resident Evil game, which is Resident Evil 8 Village, which we're gonna get into. I didn't get a full replay through of this one this last time, but when I bought the game, I loved it so much I played it 3 times in a row. Like no bullshit, I played it 3 times in a fucking row, so I could do okay talking about this one. So. Spoiler alerts for 7. It kind of does a similar thing again where for the original games where it's like there's like the canon timeline and then there's like the separate timeline and whatnot. there's a timeline in which you don't rescue Mia and she dies on the plantation, but then there's the canon one where you rescue Mia and you get her out of there. So in the main canon timeline, Ethan and Mia and their now daughter, which have been hiding out in a remote village in Europe after they were rescued by Chris Redfield at the end of 7, no bullshit.
Okay.
Suddenly get kidnapped after Chris Redfield busts into the house and shoots Mia. No explanation, just like all of a sudden he lights up your wife in front of you and doesn't say anything and just takes your kid and bounces. But then as Ethan, you wake up after...
He comes in, he's like, I need this, and takes your daughter.
Kind of, like, it starts off, it's like a nice, sweet family moment. You take your daughter, you put her to bed, you go downstairs, you start having dinner with Mia, and she's just going like, see, everything's gonna... And she's like, see, everything's fine now. And then you just...
What could possibly go wrong?
And then you literally... And it's so well done. You literally just stand there, and then you just see... As just, like, blood spurts out of her chest, and she goes like this... And then she looks up, and then she just gets fucking riddled with bullets.
Oh my God.
And falls over, and you're like... And, you know, Chris Redfield, who has been a hero throughout this entire story so far in Resident Evil, shows up and double taps her in the fucking head and just goes, sorry, Ethan, and, like, boots you in the face and knocks you out and drags you and your kid out.
Fuck.
But then you come to a little bit later, the entire caravan has been, like, knocked over. Chris is gone, but, like, 3 of the other dudes who are with him are just dead, and you have no idea where your daughter is. And then you have to march into this village where apparently there's fucking werewolves and shit happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. For this one, I want to take some time to highlight what is the best part of this game for me. It doesn't go full-blown 5 and 6 where it just feels very action-oriented, but there was much more of an emphasis on, like, an open-world gameplay mechanic where kind of, like, at any point you get attacked by shit and whatnot.
Sure.
So it has a little bit more of an action-y feel to it, but not in a way that, like, detracts from, like, the overall scary factor to it. But where this game does excel, similarly to Resident Evil 7, but to me I like 8 a little bit more because it fits in with an overall tone more. Whereas like with 7, you have the Bakers, which is like you said, cabin in the woods, fucked up, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like zombie farmer family and whatnot. Yeah. But then there's like all these just like big creepy mold monsters running around, which fits into the whole thing of like the use of mold. But it's like it just feels weird because you're like, okay, these guys have to like still look kind of normal until they mutate, but we've just got these like big black mold creatures running around. It just doesn't quite fit. In this one, it has like old Hollywood haunted village tone to it. So like werewolves, vampires, creepy dolls, weird fucked up shit happen. Like it's sort of
it's
like
that
Black
Slavic, like
very much so.
Eastern European,
100 fucking percent.
Exactly. Werewolves and vampires and all that.
Yeah. And I'll just start with the big one because everyone will get mad if I don't talk about her. Lady Dimitrescu is a great fucking character. The voice actress who plays her, I do not remember her name off the top of my head right now, but does an amazing job. No, there's no miscast in this one, and has not been. And not that there was anyone who was miscast in the other games, but just like for this one, it was just like fucking nailed.
Nice.
And what it does well is you go through different like stages and areas of the game, and the first one you go through is in Castle Dimitrescu, where you fight Lady Dimitrescu and her 3 daughters, who are all vampires, pretty much. Like, I don't think they ever come on the fly and say just like, oh, they're vampires. But they suck blood, they got fang teeth. They're just like a little too horny, so you know, vampires.
They're vampire-like, like the Count on Sesame Street.
Very much
Vampire-like.
The Count on Sesame Street's a vampire. Like, let's not. Who would argue against that? He's a vampire.
So it was on, I forget which one, but it was on the Actually game.
Yes,
that's Dropout.
Yes,
right? Yes. There was something that got brought up. I saw a clip of it where they were talking about the Count, and in the style guide from Sesame Street, the Count is vampire-like, but not a vampire. It's such a little thing. There's no vampires on Sesame Street. That's ridiculous. Sorry, continue.
Anyway, you go through Castle Dimitrescu.
Sorry.
You're all good. But yeah, just like to keep it more basic, just like it's you go through that, you fight them, kill them all in the castle, and then you just kind of have to move on to the next area because you are informed by this dude called Duke the Merchant, who's just the guy that sells you shit, but is sort of also like kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, like storyline wise. Tells you that your daughter Rose has been taken apart. I don't know how else to explain it, but just like literally a baby has been taken apart. and each of her, because there's something towards like the main baddie, Mother Miranda, needs her for a ritual of some kind in order to like act. I just blanked on this thing. It's explained. Mother Miranda believes she needs her to make Rose her daughter because she doesn't have a daughter, and that's what she needs to make herself. Again, a big like what makes a family theme kind of going out throughout the games and whatnot. And so your job is literally to partially complete the ritual, but only in the way to bring your daughter back to life.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so you're collecting your daughter's body parts. Is what's happening in the game. Oh, this is like brutal. It's brutal and it's not like the game is not disgusting with you. You're not like literally picking up like a baby's arm and like walking around with that shit. It's like there's like these like very like fancy looking vials that are like, this is Rose's head, this is Rose's torso, like, and so you're not looking at it, you know it's there, but it's not as like visceral.
That's kind of better, yeah.
It's a little bit better, you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't watch anything terrible happen to the baby either. It's not like they have a whole scene where you watch her get torn apart. It's not. They're not that gross. They're not that gross.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's just going through different stages, fighting the different monsters that are all dedicated, and some kind of in love with Mother Miranda, who are in focus and in love with her, until the ending of the game, in which that you do defeat Mother Miranda, you do get Rose, but previous to that, you find out, and this is a little bit of a jumping up the shark for a game that has already jumped the shark multiple fucking times. It gets revealed to you after a metal spike goes through your chest, and you think that Ethan Winters has died, because then we cut to Chris Redfield, and you play as Chris Redfield for a little bit in the game.
Oh.
Which is fun. They just give you a big gun and a bunch of bullets, and they say, go wild. So you just get to just like, it's a nice break. It's a really nice tone break for it.
Yeah.
But what was I just saying? Oh, yeah. And you come back to it, and then you come back to Ethan, who's having a conversation with what you think is Evelyn, but it turns out it's the mold from Resident Evil 7 that's still inside of him, because he was killed by Jack Baker in 7. The mold has been keeping him alive.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly. Oh, it's the fight with Mother Miranda that eventually breaks them down enough. And literally, the last thing that happens in the main story of the game is, as Ethan Winters, you take Rose and you hand it over to Chris, because there's a whole thing with like where when you like fully die in the new game series and whatnot, you kind of turn into like this like frosty word crystal thing, and it's just like as Ethan hands her over, just like this black moss grows, and you see him just like turn like stone white and fade away as he's like crying as he hands over his daughter. It's a really like it's really rough, but brutal. I really kind of love it because it was the first time that like a Resident Evil game made me tear up at the ending.
Yeah, it's kind of like a poetic.
It was really poetic and really nice, and it's setting us up because we're gonna get a DLC where you play as Rose Winters when she's like 19, 20. So you get to experience her story, and it looks like that's going to be like the mainstay for the series for a little while here, is going on in that direction. So it's like the Winter story will continue, but it's going to be through a different perspective now. So it's just going to be really fun, and that's just it. I've skipped over main details.
Well, of course,
trying to get through this somewhat quickly here.
All right, but that's Resident Evil. That's the road so far.
that is the road so far, and again, not counting all of the fucking side games. There's like 15 of those things. I wouldn't be able to. Hey, again, make us huge, and I'll play them all. I'll play every Resident Evil game and do this again. I'll do it. If we blow the fuck up, I will do this again, and I will do every single game.
You know what you're supposed to do. You know what you gotta do.
Come on, guys. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for listening. What did you think of the Resident Evil series? Is it a fun yet terrifying staple of the survival horror genre, or a series gone long past its prime? Let us know in the comments.
And as always, if you have any ideas for future discussions, topics, games that we can cover in future episodes, feel free to drop us an email at 3VOpodcastteam@gmail.com. And as always, go follow us on all of the social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Apple Music and Spotify and all of that. And make sure you go follow our social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're all there. Add 3VO Podcast. Follow us everywhere. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, whatever platform you're on. It really does make a difference, and it means a lot to us, and you'll make us happy. So go do it. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.